you know, it was that it's the completion point, which involves not only roads, but our underground infrastructure, which is only being made possible by the expansion that MMSD is graciously providing in Edgewood. You don't have to do it, but it's phase 3 of a project that has now spanned for more than a decade. So it's a choice, but that's information and feedback we'd like to hear.
It is included though in our plan, right?
Yep.
So it's a choice of administration, I mean, we've put it in there, and we had to take it out. Okay.
It's an identified need, and many of the plans that we, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Because of these long, you know, many of these infrastructure management plans, I mean, obviously you adopt them knowing that it'll be decades until they're completed, and so it's just coming back to the board, like, you still want to do this, or, and now we're at a board that really, you know, for the first life of that plan, it was, yeah, keep going, and now we're at a place where we have a board that wants to say, let's look at this, which I think is great timing, because we are advanced, you know, we've made a lot of accomplishments in these plans, and things have changed, and the, you know, the comfort level with debt and tax rate is different than it was, so.
And you're a new board.
But you
We're a
did
new
pull
board,
out,
so.
I want to just be, that you did pull out the police station phase 2B. I mean, that's a continuation. The administration did pull out the DPW, you know, facility. So you are giving us some, right? I mean, because if
Oh, yeah, we're getting direction.
I'm happy to speak to some of those points.
But also, I also remember, it doesn't surprise me, because as a board, I sat through those discussions and I realized I don't think we're on board with going forward because we're uncomfortable with how much it costs. So I think there's some of that that's based on actual discussion that we have had. That's my perspective anyway. I don't feel like any of this has occurred in a vacuum. So I can understand that this is different, like putting it all together today, but it all is making sense to me. I'm not saying that it has to make sense to everybody else in the same way. I'm just sharing that in case it's helpful. I'm not trying to convince either way.
Can I have a question about Lake Drive, the Lake Drive project, because, you know, when you add up all the costs, it's $8.35 million for that project. And Wilson, okay, I don't believe we did sewer or water or anything on Wilson, we just did road, is that correct?
For all intents and purposes, yes.
Okay, but even, I don't know.
There's some,
I mean, it's costing us $8.35 million to do Lake Drive. I mean, that just, if that's the number, that's the number, but it seems like a heck of a lot of money.
yeah, just on reflection, it was addressed in response to some of the requests for feedback from President Rose that we did get a new memo from the Department of Transportation, which indicates that the village share with anticipated amenities is no longer going to be about 3.5. We're currently expecting that to drop down to about $1 million.
Oh, that's great.
So,
Right? Yeah. So one of the things, I apologize, Mark.
so notwithstanding why the divergence, it's new information.
Right,
Yeah.
which is great. I think we
And that feeds to the point as well, well, sewer and water work are very expensive.
Yeah.
You know, our share of that road work for Lake Drive was clearly overstated. And keep in mind that, you know, we have to pay for our own lighting and some other amenities that's not part of the DOT scope, but
Then infrastructure is our responsibility.
How could anyone build a road without lights? That happened on Wilson too. Like, I don't understand how it's not part, lights wouldn't be, street lights aren't part of DOT. It's the road.
I don't disagree with
Sounds
that.
like we're going to Madison.
Let's do it.
If we were, I don't know, I mean, if it's their road, and yeah, we'll cost share, but there's, go ahead, yes, Rebecca.
That's good.
Oh, and this is just a note, maybe just for people who are newer. But in the past, there were always more generalized placeholders for these dollar amounts. So this year, before we even put together the plan, we sat down months ago with Leanne and Mark, and they said, I don't ever want to see a general placeholder number. I want to see a better reflection and then a recalibration of costs as we go forward. Because I expect these costs to change over time. I just want to know how much that swing is based upon whatever we do with project scope, or however, increase, decrease, whatever that may be. So I want to thank them for going through that. At the time, it seemed like a very painful exercise.
But that was we haven't had time to talk about that, we're doing that today, obviously. But you had time to think about it and give direction. I don't necessarily agree with that direction, because I feel that a long-range financial plan it's like, that's why you do long-range financial planning. You may not know the exact number in 20 years.
You may not.
So the philosophy is completely different from my point of view, and I appreciate that you made that decision. We as a board didn't have a discussion about that decision.
An example would be, Lake Drive was put in here at 3.5 million. I questioned why it was that, and it came down to $1 million.
That's
I
great.
want to make sure that we're looking at costs on an annual basis.
And-
I'm not suggesting that we'll know what all the costs are, but I think that is a pretty significant shift, and we need to be accounting for it on an annual basis.
And Wilson Drive went from 1.5 to 3, right? So if they're gonna swing, I don't think any board member is gonna get mad about either of those. But
Do
it
you
was,
want us to increase those costs? Do you not want us to recalibrate
what are you talking
annually
about?
with what we know?
Well, of course, but of course you put in more knowledgeable as we go, but
Okay.
it's still in there, is what I was saying.
Oh, okay, yep, I just wanted to make sure, because if not, then we can go back to doing it the other way.
I guess what I'm wondering, I don't know that our meeting today can respond to philosophical differences, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's helpful to note them, but I'm just not sure how it relates to what we're trying to accomplish. And I admit I was 15 minutes late, so I apologize. So if
We
I'm,
want to end at 11, so.
That's fine, we can postpone that conversation, but I do wanna have a
I'd love-
conversation with the board to talk
exactly,
about that.
I would love to have that conversation.
Okay. So, I mean, we can just do 2000, we already did 2019, so if we don't want to talk about, there's no eminent need for this discussion today, like to conclude with anything, because we already have bonded for 2019. So it's not going to impact our 19 operating budget in any way. So if we don't want to have conversations today, we can postpone anything we want to postpone until the
I
future.
think we'd like to have a conversation today
Yeah.
about
Okay.
some of these specific things that I would like to have general discussion among all of us as to whether, for example, street lighting, LED,
Yeah.
I would still like to know the payback for that. I do not know what the payback in years on electricity savings.
About 6 years.
6 years? Okay, that's good to know. To me.
It was 12, but it used to be 12.
They think better LED lights.
Okay,
Right.
great.
The advantage of-
DPW facilities, we had a study done. We had, I forget who, did Zimmerman do it? I don't know. We had a planning study done. Those are also historical buildings by the same architect who did that, okay? So I'm not sure what the value, it wasn't that long ago because it was, since I've been here, so it's been in the past 3-4 years that we had a planning study done.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why we're back at square one with that, but I think we need to, as a board, revisit that and have an explanation as to what the discussion, what everyone's administration is thinking now. I'm in favor of Hubbard Park parking lot, and I would like to do something with permeable pavers or, some kind of. something.
How is the pavement rating on, so parking lots, I had a conversation with Mark, and he said that Leanne had conveyed that it's not in need of reconstruction, so I just,
But they've told us for the past several years, we've been, this is, we have to fix it.
I'm just sharing information.
Yeah,
just
they wanted to
received.
reconfigure the lot, get more spots and
Yeah.
it was named.
Right, it's not a pavement.
It's crap, it needs to be
And it's that sidewalk, that kind of promenade sidewalk.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying, Mark, so I'm sharing information that I just received because I asked questions, and if we're looking at,
What work that, shouldn't they all, that information
We
be
got
conveyed
that.
to all?
that's, we
We received that.
I talked to Mark on the phone and it came up. So that's why I'm sharing it, because we're all here. It was like yesterday. My understanding is, from the information he shared, and you can correct me, Mark, is that the Hubbard, my question was, can we get a schedule for just like we do for our small capital, for our parking lots? And just because there is a standard, it doesn't mean that we can't push it off to more extend the life, But is there, how old is the pavement for each of our park? We don't have that many. And then based on a standard by DOT or whoever the standard is, when would that schedule out? And that's what I had asked. And he had mentioned that Lake Hubbard Park is not in bad shape, but I don't know if that is correct, so if you would like to.
That's not what we've been told the past several years.
Mark, and then Trustee McKay.
Yeah, the Hubbard Park parking lot project was developed with the concept of expanding the number of parking spaces that are currently there, to redesign, reconfigure the parking lot, including digging into some of the surrounding areas. The parking surface needs maintenance. The pavers in the middle of that parking lot needs maintenance. But the project is to expand, and then of course you get
Reconstruct.
all new services as well. So the maintenance for that lot is likely to be done within the scope of the annual operating budgets, short of, as you previously mentioned, some sort of a hypothetical estimate of what the resurfacing costs would be for the lots as they become needed over time. But just maintenance would be done within the operating budget.
I mean, here, from last year, the condition of the Hubbard Park parking lot is quickly deteriorating. It has been an extremely long time since any work has been completed on the parking lot. Village staff's identified several benefits with reconstructing the lot and talked about the layout. The large paver terrace in the center of the lot is badly deteriorated and settled/heaved areas pose tripping hazards.
And I think he addressed that with the maintenance of the middles. Didn't you talk about the pavers in the middle?
Well, I think that sounds a lot worse than I made it sound. So again, certainly a bit of a disconnect from what I said to how that's phrased.
So we can move on from this because we don't want to waste too much time. But maybe if you or Leanne could just look at our 5 lots or whatever, I mean, we don't have many, and just tell us, from our point of view. And the reason is too, because when we get into parking utility discussions in operating, one of the revenue generators was to utilize some of that funding into general fund. And I think that it would help because we know what the reserve balance would be, and we know if it will, we can't make that decision until we know if we're going to need to expend that reserve fund on maintenance or reconstruction, as Trustee Menta has pointed out. Because we do.
That was helpful in the memo that Mark sent out based on your question about parking lots. So
Yes.
it sounds like.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Does that help?
But in terms of the Hubbard parking lot, I don't know if you want to hear from other board members with kind of like how we rate these things. I like that idea of going like through the list. That's really, and hearing what everybody says. Yeah, I think with street lighting, it is opportunity cost. The sooner we do it, we're not in a crisis mode of replacing stuff piecemeal, and we also get to pay back. But it is, it's not something we have to do. The Hubbard Park, it's also opportunity cost in terms of it's an amenity for the community. It's a beloved spot and a destination, and there are businesses that run there. So I think maximizing the parking is a benefit if we can afford it, and also just making it more attractive and then safer. So maintenance will take care of the safety aspects, but if we put in, it sounds like if we put in a little bit more, we can get some benefit for the community sooner rather than, and it is a very heavily trafficked area. That lot does help with families who use River Park for their recreational activities. So that would be I'd like to hear from other board members.
I can go to, just going down the list, I agree, street lighting LED, 6-year payback, there's, when we do that.
Can we stop on those 2 for a second, just in case?
Right.
I think what Trustee McKay was saying, go ahead for those 2 if you want.
Okay. It's for you, street lighting in Hubbard Park. Yeah, I think there's opportunity there. For Hubbard Park, I think it's a good idea to look into expansion of it. I like Trustee Menta's comment on permeable pavers. I like that idea. Also, it might be something where we could use Hubbard Park to potentially, I think there was some talk about snow storage there in the event that we got permeable pavers there, so maybe it's something where we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I don't know if that's correct. I'm trying to remember exactly.
DPW had recommended it not be that in that lot.
Okay.
And that would be that's a great point though of, we're probably not going to do both lots the same year, so.
Yeah, so maybe then, if it's not in that lot, then it's something to balance against doing a lot and adding the permeable pavers. But, so those are my thoughts on those 2 items.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any thoughts? Trustee Carpenter.
For street lighting, that's something I actually feel pretty passionate about, not just for the financial implications, but also for the environmental implications. I think that that's something that's really important, but, you know, I know that there's, to me, and this is just my thoughts, Hubbard definitely needs improvement, but I don't know that it's as important as some of the other things that we have to do within the community. Just because we're just talking about just these two items, I think that the lighting is a little bit more important for sort of like.
And there is an overall benefit, more people would benefit
Yeah.
from that improvement.
Yeah.
Can I make my comments, just so we each, does anyone else have first-time comments?
Yeah.
Trustee Maher?
The LED, I think we should just proceed. I mean, it pays back over 6 years or so, and environmentally, it makes all kinds of sense. We should just do it. I don't think in the Hubbard Park, we definitely need to fix the middle. It is really, it's some of the worst sidewalk. People, it's really bad now. But the whole parking lot, I think, can wait with some just maintenance.
Yes.